grab the boys. We're headed to Kentucky for the Classic. It's gonna take a while, but we're gonna walk the whole way there. No, I'm kidding. We're going to the trailer. On Zephyr is loaded with the hay. Hey y'all, welcome to my Mustang Classic show vlog. Sorry it has been forever since my last training video. Life has been a little crazy, but I thought I'd treat you guys with a show vlog with all of the behind the scenes. You can also see my rounds and I'll be voicing them over so you can hear my thoughts on everything that went on. As you know, if you've been watching my previous videos, I'm a working student for Elisa Wallace, and together with her other student, Megan Malloy, we trained 3 horses for the Mustang Classic, which is the first English-only Mustang training competition. Modeled after the Mustang Makeovers, all of the Mustangs competing here have been out of the holding facilities for less than a year. We got our horses at the end of February 2024, and so we've had roughly 6 months to prepare our horses for the competition. These Mustangs will be competing in dressage, show jumping, and either arena cross country or working equitation, depending on what the rider chose to compete in. I forgot to film him getting his hip number painted on, but here he is with his number 32. He's helped to identify the Mustangs as they all get inspected when we first bring them to the show to make sure everyone brought the correct Mustang that is eligible for the competition. Freaking thing ever. Dude. Mustang Classic was held at the Kentucky Horse Park, and we would be competing in the Rolex Stadium, which was really exciting. We gave our horses a few hours to settle in and then went out to school them in the ring. That was better. Here we are working on some transitions and some circles, getting coaching from Elisa. Right rein. There you go. I forgot to film him getting a bath, but I scrubbed his white legs and made them nice and clean and then got him tucked away in his stall. Then we went to the trainer meeting and we got our goodie bags, and they gave us the cutest little ear bonnets that I decided to try on Odyssey. We took the boys out for a hand walk later, deciding to bring them in the ring again now that they had added in the judges' boxes. The judges' box in the ring so everyone can see it. Huge thank you to my awesome sister Madeline for making this super cool stall banner for me. He is getting some Magna Wave time, which is peanut that's going to be filled more before I leave. And he's got his hanging bucket waters because he's very particular. He likes hanging buckets only. Morning, Odyssey. Here's your soup. Chore time. Your hay waters. And walk for the boys. taking them around. It's so pretty here in the mornings. Friday was the first day of competition, and it would be dressage day, which would run all day from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Megan was first to go in dressage, and she did an amazing job on Mo. I went an hour later. I had a lovely warm-up on Odyssey. He was putting some of his best work in, and I got to walk into the ring next to Camille, who you can see in the back, on Eva, because they were allowing the next two competitors to go to school their horse a little bit in the corner of the Rolex ring before it was their turn to enter the dressage ring. Now, unfortunately, when it was my turn, Odyssey caught sight of the photographers who were standing next to the judges' box at C with raincoats on because it was starting to drizzle, and one of them was crouching down, and Odyssey did not like that. He thought they looked like mountain lions, and he didn't want to go anywhere near. So I tried to get him to go between the judges' boxes and the ring on the left side, and he wasn't having it, so I tried again on the right side and still had no luck. So I ended up going all the way around the dressage ring, keeping a good wide berth between him and the judges and the scary photographers. Now, he had seen the judges' boxes the previous day, but he did not get to see the photographers with the big tripod and the raincoats, which I think was bothering him the most. If you're not familiar with dressage, I know a lot of Mustang people are new to watching English events. You are supposed to trot around the dressage ring, typically between the judges' boxes and the white boards, before entering the ring for your test. This part is not judged, so I'm not receiving a score for anything that's happening right now. However, I am just trying to get Odyssey close to the ring so that he can see the boxes and the photographers and everything that was scaring him before we entered the ring for our test, which would be judged. So what I did right here was grab a hold of the saddle with my right hand so that I could stay off his mouth and stay out of his way, and I sat back and I gently encouraged him to go forward between the judges' box and the boards, and he was very, very brave to conquer his fear, go right next to the scary photographer, and I was very proud of him there. That was exceptional for him. He is such a cautious horse. He has very strong survival instincts. Anytime he sees something that he can't read, such as a photographer crouching down in a raincoat, he thinks it's going to kill him. And so he was very, very brave to trust me here and pass by them not once but twice, which was really good for him. Now, right around here, they blew the whistle, which meant that I had about 45 seconds to get into the ring. So I trotted down the long side again. This time I was able to go in front of this judge's box, and I began my round. So at this point, to put it lightly, my hopes of having the dressage test that we had a couple weeks prior at a schooling show were pretty much crushed. At this schooling show, we had scored a 65% with a very solid test. I was hoping we could put our best foot forward, but unfortunately, after Odyssey had such a scare, he was truly petrified of the photographers. I knew it was all I could do to get him around the test and support him and encourage him and try to make it a good experience for him. So he stopped a little early on our center line because he was so scared he didn't want to trot up to the photographers, but I was able to get him a little farther before halting and saluting at X, and we proceeded to trot down the center line. He was very good to get as close to the photographers as he did. Unfortunately, we had to cut this corner off pretty short. My goal here was to not get rattled and let any of that faze me. I focused really hard on remembering my test and focusing on the individual maneuver that I was doing. I didn't think about what happened before. I didn't worry that he might spook. I didn't worry that it might look bad and it wouldn't score very well. I just thought about each maneuver as it came and focused really hard on riding to the best of my abilities and helping support Odyssey and lend him confidence. He got scared of the judges' box again here, but he was really brave to trot on by it. I am really proud of how Odyssey handled himself despite his fear. He was truly terrified, but he was willing to trust me, and he gave me a lot of good work in this test. If any of you remember the horse I had a few years back named Wyvern, who I showed English in the Fort Worth Makeover, she gave me a lot of practice at brushing off when I had spooks or mishaps in my rounds, forgetting about it and focusing on the maneuver ahead of me instead of thinking about what just happened. I am grateful for what Wyvern taught me because it helped me get through this test where I had to ride very tactfully on a scared horse. Now here, I was meant to pick up my canter in the corner, and he was trotting simply too fast to pick up the canter, so I had to wait pretty late until I could half halt and bring him back so that he could actually pick up the canter. And here, he gave me some pretty good work. He was a little off balance, he was going a little fast, and here he aimed straight at the boards, and I had to direct him into the ring instead of letting him jump out. And so we had a little bit of a mishap there where he tossed his head, unfortunately. Now here we were supposed to perform a stretchy trot circle, but he was leaning towards the gate. I could have possibly supported him a little better. I did my best to encourage him to stretch. Unfortunately, he simply was not quite relaxed enough. Now here was going to be the best part of our test, which was our walk work. Odyssey has always been very good in the walk. He did dip his nose a little bit behind the vertical here, so I was trying to encourage him to pick his head up, as that is his tendency when he gets nervous. And that is never my goal. I want him to be nice and softly on the vertical. He goes in a very gentle rubber snaffle. Now here for our free walk, he was willing to stretch down as he had some more relaxation than previously in our trot work. The walk work in our test really helps him and I both to relax and take some deep breaths. And this is what I mean when I say I was focusing on each maneuver and riding that one to the best of my abilities. I wasn't thinking about what just happened. He had a nice transition into the trot here. He was very brave to go right up in the corner with the photographers in the judges' boxes, and this shows how he continues to get better throughout our tests as he gains a little more relaxation. Now here, he was a bit out of balance, and he curled a little bit, which again was not my goal, so I aimed to push him out, push his nose out in front or on the vertical, and we had some good moments. He is still a green horse that is unsteady in the contact, so that's been something that we've been working on and has improved. Unfortunately, sometimes when we go in for our tests and he's anxious, that issue tends to pop up a bit more. But we did have some good moments where he was in a nicer frame. You can tell he was starting to relax more. He wasn't leaning toward the gate so much, and for our change of rein across the diagonal, he was really nicely straight on this line. He felt a lot more relaxed and was willing to show a bit more of the fancy movement that we know he is capable of. He was really good to go right up next to the scary corner and pick up his canter promptly when asked. This was a much nicer transition for him. He still was ducking his head a little bit, so I was working to push him out while steering him around this circle. Now here, he got distracted by the judge's box again. He did not want to canter straight past it, so we ended up having to trot past it, pick up our canter again, and complete that circle. Now obviously I would have loved to see his nose much further out in the canter. He was still unsteady in the contact. I would have loved to see more of the canter that we had in our schooling and our warm-up, but isn't that always the case when the anxiety of the show ring comes out? A lot of the issues become more pronounced. However, he was really good with our final center line and our halt. I was so proud of Odyssey for completing this test despite his fears. He totally rallied for me. I was able to walk up to the judge at C and tell her thank you and let Odyssey see everything closer before we exited the ring. I'm going to include a couple clips I got sent of the live stream. Here's Odyssey performing a beautiful impromptu half pass. And here you can see us trotting right in front of the cameraman who is filming for the live stream. I was disappointed, to say the least, that we didn't get to show off our best. I wanted to show off how cool Odyssey really is because he really has such gorgeous movement that can score extremely well in dressage. He scored a 9 on his free walk in the last test we did before leaving for the show, so he seriously has incredible potential. It is just so unfortunate that he got very overwhelmed by the environment and the stuff in the ring on that day. In the evening, Zephyr put in a beautiful dressage test that landed him in first, and I got Odyssey all tucked away for the night. Last hand grades, but they're all tucked away. Here he is enjoying his breakfast the next morning. And it was too busy to film getting tacked up for cross country. We would be going one after the other. It would be Elisa, Megan, and then me. The live stream videos are still available with the commentary on Equestrian Plus. So here we are trotting into the round for our cross country. I wanted to show Odyssey as many of the jumps as I could, and the judges were kind enough to give everyone ample time to get their horses into the ring. They were very understanding of the fact that our horses were all green, and some of them, like Odyssey, would need more time to see everything. And so I had a plan in mind. I knew exactly which jumps I wanted to go by. I wanted him to see the judges who were sitting in chairs. I wanted him to see this red fence that we're trotting by here. And I wanted him to go by the rail because there was a particularly scary fence with a lot of gaps of air in between next to the banners on the rail. And he was not a huge fan of the barrels. So I walked past this one, let him see it, and they promptly blew the whistle, so I picked up the canter to begin my round. Now here, Odyssey got a bit overwhelmed and he started running scared, so I decided to circle because we had not gone through the start flags yet before heading to the first fence. I wanted to make sure we had a more confident and focused approach to the first fence. Now, as I was fully expecting, he slowed down to take a peek at the first fence. However, he did not stop or go backwards, so this was not considered a refusal. And just like I trained him to, he hopped right over. Now, we went to canter to the second fence, which was a blue roll top that I knew he was going to be scared of. So I was sitting back, I had some mane, and unfortunately, he just took a really hard turn right in front of the fence. There had been a moment where I almost thought he might go over, and unfortunately he turned and spun me off onto my feet. Now, in the rules for this competition, the judges are allowed to permit riders to get back on and continue their round if they don't think that they have fallen in such a way that they may have been injured. Because I fell on my feet, I asked the judges and they said I was allowed to continue my round for schooling purposes. I was eliminated at this point, but for training purposes I was able to continue attempting to get around my round. However, I just had my second refusal at the third fence, and if I have one more refusal, I would be asked to leave the ring. So I gave Odyssey a pat and I encouraged him to come look at this jump, and I thought for a second he might try it from a standstill. This jump was a little bigger than the other ones, and he started to feel like he wasn't wanting to jump it from a standstill, so I decided to come back around and trot it. He picked up the canter and I allowed him to take me to the fence. He did still wiggle. That was a particularly hard fence because we had the show jump on the left and the gate on the right, so horses were prone to thinking about running out right. Now here he jumped this one really well, and I was super happy with that, and I started to feel like maybe he would have gained the confidence from those last two jumps to make it around the rest of the course. Unfortunately, when we came up to this jump, he did the exact same maneuver. I was ready for him this time. I kept my left foot on the left side of him, and I was able to pull myself back into the saddle. Now I knew we were eliminated. They blew the whistle to tell us to exit the ring. I gave Odyssey a pat because he tried really hard. You cannot fault him for being scared. It's a very overwhelming environment, and I knew that he was trying super hard. It was really brave of him to enter the ring and make it over the fences that we did jump. The judges here were asking me if I wanted to jump a final courtesy jump before leaving the ring so that we could end on a good note and build some confidence. I agreed, and they said I could jump fence 3 from a trot, so I aimed him at it. He did pick up the canter again, and here you can see where he wants to drift right toward the gate, but it was really good of him. I gave him a pat before leaving the ring. I was really proud of him. I knew that that might happen because he is a nervous horse and he's still insecure about jumping, but I was really happy with how far he made it in the round. So he got a bath afterwards, and in the afternoon it was time for our show jumping round. This would not be a traditional show jump round, which is based on time and not knocking any rails. There was no timer. We would be judged on each individual fence, as well as our time spent between the fences, for balance, straightness, rhythm, striding to the fences, the rider's form and the horse's jump form over the fences, etc. Now, there were 2 height options to help make it more accessible for greener horses and riders that may not be comfortable jumping the bigger heights. I chose the 12-inch height instead of the 2'3" because Odyssey is still insecure about jumping, and he is much more confident over the lower heights. So here, after trotting into the ring, I stopped and gave him a treat because I wanted to help make it a good experience. Treats do really help him relax. He is a horse that thrives off positive reinforcement. So he started to spook here, and I'm pretty sure he was spooking at the stadium and this fence with the flowery standards, which is why I wanted him to come look at this one. So I walked by it, and then I came over to the scariest corner of the arena. Here we had the photographer up in the stands. There was a very loudly flapping trash bag. There was banners on the rail, and this fence was right on the rail. Now, I could have done a better job to get him in this corner. I was worried about running out of time, but they gave me plenty of time before blowing the whistle, so I wish that I had walked up to that fence and let him sniff it, because I think that would have helped us with our round. However, I ended up trotting him around over here a little bit before picking up the canter and heading to the first fence. I knew that I would have to be ready. I had some mane in hand and I was sitting back. He broke to the trot and then walked to the fence, but that's okay, because I've trained him to jump from any gate or even a standstill, which helps him become a lot braver. So here, he jumped this one right out of stride, and he jumped it really cute, so I was feeling a lot better. I knew that he was more confident, and he was pretty brave to this rainbow fence that was a little scary. Here he has to canter past the judges and chairs, but he stayed nicely focused. The first half of our round was very smooth. Unfortunately, here he became spooked. It was a combination of, like I said, the cameraman in the stands, the cross-country fences, the banners, the trash bag. I think a lot of things spooked him here, and we had a bit of a steering failure. But we came over here, trotted to this fence, and he jumped this one really cute as well. In our show jump round, he was honestly the least scared of the jumps. He was more worried about other things in the arena, which I know is really good. He did a great roll back here to this fence. It was kind of a tight turn with the cross-country jump sitting there. And he became scared of the judges sitting in the chairs on the other side of this fence. I don't think he was spooking at the jump at all. So this means to me that once I'm better at retaining his focus, and once he trusts me and focuses on me a little bit more, he's going to be super solid, because he's going to just focus on the jumps and not worry about anything else in the ring. So I wanted to make it super positive for him, so we trotted over here, tried to go really wide in this corner. Like I said previously, this was a really scary corner. The jump itself wasn't super scary, it was just the placement. But I knew that if I could get him over to this jump and get his nose in front of it, he would hop right over. So he wasn't even looking at the jump, but the second he did, he was like, oh, okay, I can hop over that. Now, unfortunately, we had this rail because he was quite close to it, but that's okay. I didn't worry about that at all. He was very brave to the last two fences, and I was super pleased with his improvement in the show jumping phase of this competition. He got so many pats. He got a treat before we left the ring, and he got some more treats when I got off. I was very, very happy with this. This was our last class of the show, but he performed so well, and I was very proud of his progress. He may not have fit into the makeover time frame, but he is going to be an exceptional show-stopping pony. I have more faith than ever in Odyssey. He is just on his own timeline, but that is perfectly okay, because not every horse is going to fit into the same training time frame. I forgot to film a whole lot, but Megan and Elisa both had great show jump rounds. And then here I was looking around at the vendors. I got a really cool Mustang Champions hat and shirt. And I was trying to film some of the educational stuff. This one was partially hidden. I'm going to film all this and pretend it was when I just got here. Legally driving a golf cart. Oh my god. Through the remembering for some reason. Struggle of bus. This is the golf cart of struggle. We were just headed to the awards in style through the warm-up ring for some reason.
In fourth place, exhibitor number 52, Elisa Wallace and Zephyr. Draw number 6 belongs to number 52, Elisa Wallace and Zephyr. Draw number 7 belongs to...
Get up there. Oh, I thought you were. I'm like trying to take these guys on a hand graze, and finally they're grazing. But Odyssey was just walking off into the road and like literally 10 feet in front of me, leading me. And I was like, okay, go where you want to go. And he was just being a little goober, like he wants to wander around everywhere. Taking the right. Good night, Odyssey. Super. Morning hand graze for the boys. Got the whole trio. Up to day 3 of the Mustang Classic, and we have a truck bed full of balloons and floats. Here we go with our truck bed full of things. That dressage horse is being really good right now. This isn't even the most amount of things that I've put in a truck bed before for one of these makeovers. You know, I want it. Slow down, stop. Ah! Freestyle, yay. Zephyr chilling out before his freestyle.
Very impressive. Matt, tell us about this.
All right, so this is a dream true.
As you've already seen, Elisa won, which was so exciting. We were so stoked for her. She definitely deserved that after all of the hard work she put into Zephyr and the beautiful rounds in the freestyle that they performed. She's spent so long advocating for Mustangs, especially the English Mustangs, and they finally have an English Mustang event, and it was just so fitting that she won. Hours later, it's all packed. Loading up. Odyssey and I may not have come home with any ribbons, but we had a great experience. It was very good for him to get in there and learn all the things that he did, and I am super proud of him regardless of how our rounds went. We drove through the night again and got there early in the morning, and here's the boys out in their field later that day. Well, thank y'all so much for watching. Odyssey may have become overwhelmed by the environment, but I have more faith than ever that he has a very bright future and a lot of potential. He received so many compliments throughout the show from others who saw the potential that I saw in him when I saw those initial photos on the internet adoption before I bought him. I will be sharing his journey video and likely some more of his training videos if I get to editing them.